The subject of this episode is one of the most recently living tzaddiks of our time. A tzaddik means righteous one, and is the title given to the most pious and devout adherents to Judaism throughout the centuries. In fact, Judaism far outweighs that of Islam and Christianity in terms of its sheer number of true wise men that have emerged from within its ranks. This includes any other religion on the face of the earth. When you look at the percentage of sages or gedolim, meaning great ones, in Judaism, in any age and compare it to the size of any other outstanding individuals in any competing religion, the comparison is mind-blowing. In fact, Yeshua HaNotzri, mistakenly referred to as Jesus, and Rav Shaul, otherwise known as the Apostle Paul, were cut from the very same cloth as all the great sages of Jewish history. Judaism is the chief influencer of all the world's religions. The concept of marriage, for example, comes exclusively from the Torah, and technically speaking, the concept of traditional marriage should not exist at all outside of Judaism. In 2016, the Australian edition of The Guardian published an article that revealed a study showing that the Jews are the world's best educated group. If you want to find out about religion in general, the best place to start is to learn the Jewish interpretation of the Bible. It is little wonder that Shlomo HaMelech, King Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived, who is well known throughout the world, was, you guessed it, Jewish. Rav Yisrael Abba Elbas, known as the Baba Sali, which means in Arabic, father or master of prayer, was born in 1889 in Morocco into a family of Sephardic Torah scholars and tzaddikim, known as the Balei Mofet, which means miracle workers. Interestingly, the name Abba is also Arabic and means the master of the mat or carpet, and harks back to his father, who many years before actually found himself unable to cross a large body of water and used his prayer mat to cross the ocean. Prayer mats were in use well before Islam in Judaism. Witnesses saw Baba Sali's father, and that's how he got the name, the master of the carpet. It is said of Baba Sali that he lived in both worlds, this world and the world above, and that his passing in 1984 was, rather than being a departure, an amplification of his greatness, with his gravesite in Netivot receiving thousands of pilgrims each year. An estimated 100,000 people attended his funeral. The first inkling of Baba Sali's greatness is perhaps in his diligence in Torah study at a young age, studying day and night. At the age of 12, he began fasting during the 6 weeks of Shavavim, which is a time of deep tshuva and soul-searching that runs from Parsha Shemot to Parsha Mishpatim. Knowing that his parents wouldn't let him continue, he hid his fasting from them, but his brother David noticed how weak and pale he was. Though David urged him to stop, Yisrael continued to fast. Baba Sali desired not to take any pleasure from the world derived from materialism. On one occasion, he tasted some food after fasting and then ceased eating. His wife, who prepared the meal, asked him if there was anything wrong with it, and he said, "No, the food is delicious, and that's precisely why I can't eat it. It's for someone who desires pleasure." He was constantly aware of becoming too attached to the world, even if it was through the pleasure of the taste of good food, though his residence always had plenty of choice foods for his guests on Shabbat and other occasions. He had an amazing sensitivity and unconditional love toward the nation of Israel and its people. From the simplest Jew to the most observant, throughout his life, he performed countless miracles and left a mark on not only the Jewish world, but on any community that he came in contact with. Rav Yisrael, as his nickname indicates, was the master of prayer. It was said that when he prayed, Malachim, angels, would flee. He never looked upon a woman, and women apart from his wife were never admitted in to see him. He could see things most people cannot see because he did not look at what most people gaze at. Shlomo HaMelech taught, there is a generation that is pure in its own eyes, and yet unwashed in their own filth, those whose eyes are ever haughty, whose glances are so disdainful. This is from Sefer Mishlei, Proverbs, chapter 30, verse 12 to 13. Many people today think themselves pure and don't understand how their eyes drag them into terrible pollution and cut them off from everything holy. They don't think to cleanse themselves from their state of impurity. Baba Sali was acutely aware of this and worked very hard throughout his entire life to guard his eyes. Modesty was a key aspect of this Zaydic's life, covering his whole head, and he always wore a white garment covering his entire body, and he immersed himself every morning in a mikveh, a gathering of waters, and he didn't disrobe until he was fully immersed. When he would bathe, he did so in a special garment so that he was never completely disrobed. In 1951, Rav Yisrael moved to Eretz Israel, where he tried to live in secret, but he was soon discovered and offered the position of Chief Rav of Lod, where he was staying at the time. He eventually moved to Bacha, where he was also offered the Chief Rabbi position there, which he again turned down. Not long afterwards, news reached him of a spiritual decline in Jewish life back in Morocco, so he returned to revitalize his birthplace. Later again, he returned to Eretz Israel, this time for good, in 1964, settling in Netivot with brief stays in Yavne and Ashkelon. The miracles Rav Yisrael performed were numerous. Perhaps one of the most famous healings occurred when a man named Eliyahu from Halon was about to have surgery to remove both his legs due to gangrene. Eliyahu was not religious, but when he was offered to be taken to see Baba Sali, he decided that he had nothing to lose. It is said that when the man arrived, he crawled up the stairs to Baba Sali's home. Baba Sali was informed of the young man's situation, and then he asked the man if he was religious. Through tears, the man said no. He asked if he kept Shabbat. Through tears, he said no. Baba Sali also asked him if he tied tefillin every day, and the man through tears said no. So the Rav then asked him, "If you are healed, will you become religious?" The man quickly replied, "Yes." Then Baba Sali said, "Well, get up then." The man refused. He looked at the man who bought him in disbelief and hesitated. Baba Sali again said, "Get up." No response. Then the Rav demanded, "Get up." The man got up and was in so much shock and joy that he began to dance, and then he ran out of the house to a nearby yeshiva and shouted and sang and told the whole yeshiva what had just happened. He danced and celebrated. Finally, he returned to the Rav's house to thank him and assure him of his commitment. Stories like this one permeate not only the life of Baba Sali, but many of the Tzaddikim throughout Jewish history. Why is it that Judaism, above all other variations of Christianity, or any other religion for that matter, is so rife with so many encounters that are very similar to the healings of Yeshua HaNotzri? I'm not talking about the televised ticket sale, Superdome healing crusades that we see, but stories in backwater parts of communities with individuals seeking out these elusive sages that shun public life, any form of notoriety, and they refuse monetary gain, and they detest the idea of living in lavish homes or even owning phones or televisions. Think about it. If Rebbe Yeshua arrived today, where would he feel most at home? Thank you for joining me once again. Bye for now.
זהו ליל ההילולה, התפילות עולות למעלה, מאירה הנשמה, לאל עליון מרימים עיניים, משאלות מבקשים, שלח ברכה מהשמיים, בזכות אבות קדושים. בבא סאלי איתנו נמצא, זכותי לנו.
Hey, before you go, if you like this series and you want to find out much more, check out our books, All Lights On in the Master's House, Lightning from the Master's House, Flying Chariot, Fallen Dragon, and Is Alcoholic. All available on Amazon.com and other online bookstores, and help us to continue to spread the word. Also check out our website, Netzarim, where we have many teachings and resources on a myriad of subjects that will enlighten and enhance your walk. Bye for now.